I wrote a show with a buddy of mine named Graham. I was living in New York City, and we got a little run at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. We ran for about a year, and then we got some press, and we turned that press into a little tour. And this tour was basically a glorified road trip. It was just me and my buddy driving to different cities. We knew we got into this Austin Comedy Festival, so we knew that dot was on the map. But then we booked shows in like Raleigh, Durham, and Athens, Georgia, and had this amazing weekend in New Orleans, and then we finally made it to Austin. And along the way, we were posting on Facebook about how much fun we were having. And this girl that I met at a wedding in Nantucket reached out and was like, "Hey, I live in Dallas. I'm going to come to your Austin show." And at that point, it was just like, sweet. And so we do the Austin show. It's this big comedy festival, and afterwards she's showing us, she knows Austin, and her and her friend Andrew are like showing me and my buddy Graham all around Austin. We're going to all these bars and stuff and having fun. And she leans over at some point in the night and she's like, "Hey, do you guys want to come to my family's ranch tomorrow?" And we were kind of like, well, maybe. We looked at the map, and it was 2.5 hours north of Austin, outside of Mineral Wells, Texas. And we had a travel day built in. We had a travel day before we had a show in Denver a couple days later. And we were like, yeah, let's just go to this ranch. Sweet. And so the next morning, kind of hungover, but like very excited about this wild new adventure, we pull into an estate that I could only remember by thinking like, wow, everything is bigger in Texas. Like, this is unbelievable. It felt like money that I had never experienced. We walked into this great room that was like adorned with all the world's beasts hung up on the wall. And it was like the greatest place I've ever. It was the size of a hotel, but it was just their hunting ranch. We walked in, and Andrew and Elizabeth were like, "Oh, we'll show you to your wing." And I was like, "This place has wings." Like the White House used to. So we walk in, and at that point on our road trip, I don't think we had taken a proper shower, and we were shown into this room with like even smaller taxidermied beasts welcoming us to our room, and it had 2 giant beds and this ensuite bathroom. It was basically like a hunting ranch hotel room, and we took showers immediately. We were just like giddy with excitement. Then we get out, and Andrew and Elizabeth are like, "Do you guys want to go hunting?" And this is one of our like, "Who am I?" question. You know, like grandma, these like 2 little scrawny hipster kids from New York were like, "Well, I don't know." Does this betray who I've built myself up to be up until now? But without missing a beat, both of us were just like, yes, we want to. We're here at this crazy hunting ranch. We want to hunt here. And so we got like suited and booted. I tucked in this like plaid shirt that I had into this pair of skinny jeans, and like they had a pair of women's cowboy boots that fit me. Apparently in Texas, I'm a women's size. But they fit great, and we like got into this pickup truck and drove a couple miles down to this little shack and got into this Polaris hunting vehicle, and then picked out a bunch of guns. And the shack was like, in my mind, it was like that scene in The Matrix that was like, and like all these rows of guns just show up. Like, we walked into this shack, and I was like, yes, this is the armory. This is where we select our weapons of death. And then we picked out a bunch of guns, and we got into this little, like so many guns. They were just like, yeah, we'll grab this and this and this, and like threw a bunch of shells into this Polaris vehicle. And every vehicle that we were in had a cooler of Miller Lite. That's just like standard. And people were drinking no matter what. If it was a pickup truck, if it's a Polaris, everyone's just like, Miller Lites, Miller Lites. And we were like, we are becoming part of this culture. We are realizing what to do. So we take this vehicle out to this field, the killing field. And we were taught how to use these guns. And at first, like, when I was around all these guns, I felt like, you know, like a little kid, and when all the neighborhood kids would get together, and one of them would be like, "I have a lighter." And we'd be like, dang, like, that's bad. You shouldn't play with those. That's too much. It was like that. I was like, we have so many guns. This is really bad. Like, we are being bad right now. But then I took a couple practice shots and like blew the crap out of like a bush or something. I was like, I feel it. I know why this is so great. I'm intoxicated by this power. So we go into this field. It's a dove hunting field. The first beasts I'm to kill are the symbol of peace. We walk through this field and we're like stalking them. And like Elizabeth and Andrew were telling us that like when we're shooting with birdshot, we gotta like kind of like whip our gun when we shoot so like we can get a nice spread so that one of those little pieces of metal like flick those little doves out of the air and they literally fall like duck hunt. They're like, burr, 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 burr. But then the sad part is once you kill one, you have to like walk up to it and rip its head and wings off and stuff it in a little satchel and then later that evening prepare it with wrapped in bacon and put it on the grill and delicious. That day I killed one dove and Graham killed two and he was real torn up about it. He had a hard time with like the head stuff and that's just, I think he was in yoga teacher training at that point. He was like, he really was like, well, I think I messed up. So we get back to this house, to the lodge, and when we get back, there's like a whole hunt. It's like all the family and friends are there, and everyone's laughing, and they prepare us this epic steak dinner, and we're just like, this is the best night. And we're eating, and we're drinking, we're having fun, and the head of the house is literally this guy named King. I think his name was King. He might have been like Kingsford, or I don't know, like, but they called him King. Like King, that was his name. And at one point he goes, hey, Nick and Graham, you guys are comedians. Why don't you guys do a little show for us? And we were just like, okay, like we'll do another stop on our tour. Like, so then everybody arranged these like, you know, like wooden ornate chairs into like a little audience. And we did an improv set for a hunting party. And it was incredible. We continued the tour, did shows in Denver, ended the show in LA, and then I flew home and I can't help but think, like, I left New York just this naive East Coast hipster, and I came back like a hardened killer.